My beloved child, heaven leans close to your spirit now. There is a sound few can hear. It is not a trumpet. It is not thunder. It is the ticking of divine time, faint but undeniable. And this moment, this sacred hour, it will not wait forever. Archangel Michael speaks. A window has opened over your life, and soon it will close. What you do with this moment will echo far beyond what you can see. Listen, not with your ears, but with your spirit, because this message is not common. This is not a coincidence. You didn't stumble here. You were summoned. This word is not for everyone. It is for you. You, the one who's been sensing a shift. You, who've been waking up with weight in your chest and no name for it. You, who's felt eyes watching you and no one else is in the room. You felt it, that silent storm circling you. And now heaven confirms it. You are not wrong. Michael says, the enemy is moving in secret, and time is his weapon. But I am revealing what was hidden, because you were never meant to be blindsided. There are conversations happening right now, not in your presence. Not with your permission, but they're using your name as if it belongs to them. They smile when you walk in, but they sharpen their plans the moment you leave. And now you're being watched, not just by man, but by the spiritual realm. Child, do not panic. This is not to cause fear, but to stir discernment. Heaven is not worried. Heaven is active. But you must hear this before the sacred clock strikes. In the next 2 hours, Michael whispers, decisions will be made in the shadows that could bend the arc of your destiny. You are not called to war with flesh and blood, but there are meetings you weren't invited to, where false agreements are being made. Someone you once prayed with is now praying against you. Someone you defended is now defining you to others. With twisted words, type, I am listening. If your heart is already racing, that's not anxiety. It's awareness. Your spirit knows this is more than warning. It's alignment. Michael continues. Do not respond with emotion. Do not confront them. Respond with obedience. Respond with silence. Respond with prayer. Because heaven's army is not waiting for your proof. It's moving because of your faith. There is a reason you haven't been able to shake that uneasy feeling. The way certain texts suddenly feel suspicious. The way familiar smiles now feel foreign. This is not your imagination. It is prophecy in motion. There is a woman whose eyes hold kindness, but whose lips carry poison. She is connected to the ones who once called you family. She is not alone. Their plan is quiet, careful, and dangerous. But you, child, you are covered. Heaven whispers, do not reveal your next steps. They are listening, not to learn from you, but to copy, twist, and cancel you. You have said enough. Now, your silence is your shield. Expect your voice to fight back, but your stillness will confuse their demons. Archangel Michael says, remain hidden for now. The time for action will come, but this is not it. This is the hour for discernment, stillness, and watchful obedience. If you're still reading, it's because your spirit already knows what your mind is still trying to grasp. The window is open, but it won't stay open forever. You are being protected from what you didn't see, because heaven already saw it. You are being pulled out of what looked like favor, but was actually a setup. You are being preserved, not overlooked. So hold your position. Type 444 if you choose to stay under divine protection. Let them talk. Let them scheme. Let them assemble, because heaven is disassembling every single word spoken against you. You will not attend every meeting. You will not accept every invitation, because not every door is divine. There is a table being prepared, but not every seat was made for you. Michael says, you are not losing access. You are gaining clarity. What they offered came with a chain. What I offer comes with a crown. So pause. This is not the time to panic. It is the time to prepare. Heaven is making moves in places your feet haven't yet entered. and the silence around you is not absence. It is strategy. Your name is being spoken not for your destruction, but for your promotion. The battle is real, but the protection is active. The clock is ticking, but grace still covers the hour. My beloved child, there is a reason heaven warned you to be silent, a reason you were told to withdraw, to pull back, not in fear, but in obedience. Because while you've been still, they've been moving. While you've been praying, they've been plotting. Archangel Michael speaks again. It is not the stranger you must guard against. It is the one who learned your rhythm, memorized your wounds, and is now using your silence to build their strategy. You didn't misplace your trust because you're naive. You extended love because that is your nature. But not everyone who receives your kindness holds it with honor. Some see your stillness as weakness. Some mistake your loyalty for leverage. And now, child, someone close, so close, is tightening a rope made of your own words. They took what you shared in confidence and carried it to those who never deserved your name in their mouth. They did not raise concern. They planted suspicion. They didn't cover your flaws. They collected them to be used in private rooms behind closed doors. And now, their plan is unfolding. Michael says, this is the trap they prepared, not to attack your body, but to dismantle your reputation. Not with force, but with friendly deception. Listen carefully. There is a meeting, a conversation, a circle you were once part of. No turn sideways. They do not call it betrayal. They call it clarity. They justify it with concern. But heaven calls it by its true name. Division born in jealousy. Heaven whispers, this person has smiled at you. They've asked how you've been. They've prayed for you out loud, but privately, they've partnered with doubt. Do not confront them. Not yet, because their performance is not finished. They are still acting, still charming, still waiting for you to speak more than you should. But you won't. Not this time. You've been warned. Type, I will remain silent. If your soul feels the tension building. Michael says, the person in your circle who speaks the softest may hold the sharpest knife. And now is not the time to accuse, but to observe. Watch their patterns. Note their pauses. Feel their energy shift when you speak. Life over yourself. Pay attention to how they pull away when you're being celebrated. How they step closer when your name is in question. These signs are not meaningless. They are your confirmation. Heaven is giving you eyes to see. And now the question is, will you keep excusing what heaven is exposing? Will you call it misunderstanding? Or will you call it what it is, strategic betrayal? Michael says, they've studied you like a blueprint, and now they are trying to recreate your identity with counterfeit intentions. But they've missed something. They cannot mimic your anointing. They cannot replicate your favor. They cannot counterfeit what heaven has handcrafted. You are more than what they remember about you. You are more than your old wounds. You are more than the version they feel entitled to narrate. Child, heaven whispers, the story they are telling is incomplete, and I will interrupt it before it spreads further. Stay hidden. Stay guarded. You are not missing opportunities. You are being protected from manipulation. Dressed as open doors. They want access. They want reaction. They want emotion. But all they will get is your silence. Comment. I trust divine timing. If your spirit is beginning to rest in this revelation, there is a specific voice in this trap, a woman. She speaks carefully. Her tone is soft, even spiritual. But behind that tone is a motive, and that motive is fueled by envy. Michael says, she has spoken your name in the presence of those who doubted you, not to defend you, but to diminish you. And now, those words echo in meetings you were never invited to, but heaven was there. Heaven recorded every syllable. Every grin, every lie wrapped in gentle phrases. Heaven says, I am about to bring her name into light, not to humiliate, but to separate the false from the faithful. This is not your battle to fight. This is your battle to recognize. Michael declares, the one you call friend has offered your name in exchange for access. And heaven will not allow it to prosper. Not this time. Not against you. You have passed. The test of silence. Now prepare for the reward of stillness. Favor is coming, but so is truth. And the trap they set? It will soon become their own prison. Child, there were whispers around your name, but not all whispers came from man. Some came from realms unseen. Angels assigned to your journey spoke your name in meetings you never knew existed. Heaven did not lose track of you. You were never forgotten. You were merely being handled by timeless hands. Michael says, I kept your file open on heaven's desk. While others walked away, I remained. While others turned silent, I spoke on your behalf. Even when it felt like no one was fighting for you, heaven was. The delay wasn't absence. It was alignment. You were not abandoned. You were guarded. The slowness was sacred, because what God is doing in you ain't not common. Heaven doesn't build endurance. In a hurry. Heaven grows trust by placing you in silence and staying there with you. You are being watched by eyes that never sleep. Child, they looked at your inactivity and called it failure. But heaven looked at your stillness and called it preparation. They assumed you were standing still, but you were being rerouted by sacred currents. You weren't paused. You were being positioned. Type. Heaven never lost sight of me. If you now realize the delay was a divine decision. Michael says, there are conversations happening above your name, and they are not about limitation, but about release. The realm of glory has not closed its doors to you. In fact, they've been held open longer than usual because your obedience carried extra weight. Heaven honors heavy hearts that still choose surrender. You could have hardened. You could have retaliated. You could have run. But you remained. You stayed. You waited in the quiet and trusted, even when the winds blew the other way. That trust has not gone unnoticed. Comment. My waiting was worship. If your soul understands that God's silence wasn't rejection, it was a mirror, a test, a holy restraint. And now, heaven begins to respond. You won't need to knock loudly. You'll walk through what was already written for you before anyone even formed an opinion. Michael says, the door was not locked. It was waiting for your inner world to catch up with your assignment. Now it has, and you are no longer waiting. You are rising. My beloved child. There are places your feet have never entered, yet your name lingers in the air like a whisper rehearsed too many times. Archangel Michael speaks again. Your name has traveled into rooms built on shadows, not by your voice, but by those who envied your presence and feared your potential. There are gatherings you did not attend, conversations you never approved, but your spirit felt the disturbance long before you knew the source. You have woken up heavy, not from lack of rest, but from unseen warfare. They do not use your name with boldness. They disguise it in suggestions. They sow your reputation into questions, doubts, and half-truths. They call it concern. They label it reflection. But heaven calls it by its true name, manipulation, disguised as observation. And today, this moment, heaven is opening the doors to those rooms. Michael says, I was present in that circle. I recorded every word, every smirk, every silence that nodded in agreement. You were not defended there. They spoke of your decisions, but not with compassion. They speculated about your steps, but not to understand only, to undermine. They want others to second-guess your calling. They are not afraid of what you've done. They're afraid of what you've been chosen to do next. Type, heaven heard it first. If your soul already knew what was happening behind closed doors. Because, child, your spirit picked up what your ears could not. That unease when certain names flash across your phone. That pause when they ask how you're really doing. that tightness in your chest when someone smiles just a little too long. You are not paranoid, but you are being divinely alerted. Heaven whispers, their language is gentle, but their intent is disruptive. And now, they are close to presenting a version of you that only they believe. Michael says, do not try to explain yourself. Your defense will sound like guilt in the ears that already made up their minds. Let silence be your wall. Let prayer be your shield. Let heaven be your witness. Because soon, beloved, those rooms will collapse on their own lies. There is a reason your name has become the center of their meetings. It is not because of what you've done wrong. It is because of what you're about to do right. Your rising threatens the systems they built on your silence. Your favor unsettles those who never expected you to survive. And now, they're rushing to control a story they no longer own. But heaven whispers, I own your story. I wrote the beginning. I have ordained the next chapter. Comment, heaven writes my story, if your identity is rooted in divine authorship, not public opinion. Because here is the truth. Those who speak of you in secret do not realize they are part of prophecy. They are the necessary contrast to your clarity. They are the storm heaven allowed to prove your stillness. And now, their unity is cracking. Michael says, there is dissonance among those who once conspired. The more they speak, the more their words betray their own motives. Watch closely. Someone in that room, someone who once nodded in agreement, is growing uneasy. They are watching you walk in peace and beginning to question what they participated in. Heaven is stirring conviction. The light is starting to irritate their shadows. And that's when the shift begins. Child, this is not the time to prove anything. Do not chase rumors. Do not beg for understanding. Do not try to correct stories built from fear, because correction is coming, not from your lips, but from divine interruption. Heaven whispers, I will cause the very people who questioned you to watch me confirm you. You have been planted, not buried. You have been hidden, not forgotten. You have been preserved, not punished. Your absence from their rooms is not a loss. It is protection from premature exposure. Michael says, you were never meant to enter every space where your name is mentioned. Some rooms are not platforms, they are traps. So stay still. Let them talk. They think they are building a case, but they are writing their own undoing. Type, I trust divine exposure, if you believe God will bring every hidden thing into the light, because light is coming. And when it does, those who spoke of you will have to speak differently. Not from suspicion, but from wonder. Not with control, but with respect. Heaven whispers, the same mouth that questioned you will one day have to introduce you. Your name is safe with me. It is written not in gossip, but in glory. So do not fear the secret rooms. Fear not being ready when the doors open, because they will. And when they do, you won't need to walk in with explanations. You will walk in with evidence, the kind only heaven can prepare. My beloved child, you have been silent, not because you had no words, but because heaven whispered, now is not the time to speak. It is the time to stand still. And that stillness, the very thing they mistook for weakness, has become your greatest weapon. Michael says, stillness is not inactivity. It is obedience. It is the position of trust in the middle of exposure. Heaven has been moving on your behalf, but not in noise and alignment. While others were racing to be heard, you were retreating to be preserved. And child, that silence became your shield. You were not being overlooked. You were being covered. You were not forgotten. You are being fortified. Heaven whispers, I wrapped you in quiet so the arrows aimed at your name would never find their target. Because there is power in stillness, not the kind that shouts, the kind that terrifies hell itself. The enemy expects noise. He plans for conflict. He waits for reaction. But when you stayed silent, he grew nervous. Type, my silence is my shield. If your spirit has found peace in obedience, because the more still you became, the clearer the lies around you sounded. Their strategy needed your words, but your silence shattered their momentum. Their plan depended on your panic, but your calm confused every familiar demon they tried to send. Michael says, do not underestimate the power of hidden obedience. What you surrendered in sound, I multiplied in spirit. There is a storm happening, child, but not around you. Within them, you've been covered. You've been sealed in a moment of sacred stillness. While their plans twist, your path straightens. You see, silence is not the absence of movement. It is the preparation for divine release. And now, heaven is shifting something beneath your feet. Heaven whispers, they watched for your fall, but I've been building your flight. The silence that concealed you is about to reveal your protection. The ones who plotted in secret rooms will soon whisper to each other, why didn't it work? And the answer will not be because of what you did. It will be because of what you didn't do. You didn't fight back. You didn't explain. You didn't expose. Trusted. And that trust became your deliverance. Comment. I trust the unseen. If you believe protection often comes wrapped in silence. Because now, beloved, a shift is occurring. You are stepping into rooms not because you forced your way in, but because heaven opened the door. You will not need to campaign. You will not need to convince. You will not need to prove. What was once spoken against you in secret will now be contradicted by your presence. Michael says, your stillness disarmed what their noise tried to build. Child, you were never meant to be loud in this season. You were meant to be covered. And heaven did exactly that. The eyes that watched for your reactionnaire, now blinded by your promotion. The ears that waited for your words, now silenced by your elevation. You did not escape the trap. You simply never walked into it, because stillness redirected your steps. Type, I'm protected in silence, if you felt heaven's covering when words failed you. They will wonder how you knew. They will wonder why you disappeared. They will wonder how you kept your composure, but they will never understand that it wasn't just your decision, it was heaven's strategy. Stillness was not passive, it was powerful. It was prophetic. It was heaven's way of saying, I will fight for you. You only need to be still. My beloved child, they watched you in silence. They whispered behind your back. They gathered in secret rooms to exchange stories, doubts, and projections. But they missed one thing. You are never theirs to define. You were heaven's to reveal. And now, the same ones who questioned your steps will witness your elevation, an elevation they never anticipated. Michael says, there is no strategy that can override divine appointment. No conspiracy that can cancel what I have declared over you. You did not beg for attention. You did not fight for validation. You did not craft your own spotlight. You obeyed. And now, heaven is responding. You are stepping into the chapter that was hidden until now, not because you were forgotten, but because the appointed moment has arrived. They thought your stillness meant delay, but it was a signal of preparation. They assumed your silence was a loss, but it was sacred alignment. And now, child, your rise begins not with noise, but with glory. Type, I receive divine promotion. If your spirit knows, something is shifting beyond the natural, because heaven is making no announcements to your enemies. Heaven is not asking permission from those who doubted you. Heaven is not building you up quietly anymore. Now, it will be visible. They will not be warned. They will not be prepared. They will simply witness. Heaven whispers, I am making a table in front of them, not to shame them, but to confirm you. Yes, beloved. The same ones who watched you break will now see you bless others from the very places they tried to block. You will not rise with resentment. You will rise with reverence, because this is not your revenge. It is your restoration. Michael says, this is not the result of your talent. It is the fruit of your surrender. You let go. You waited. You trusted. And now heaven moves. Comment, this rise is holy if you feel heaven's movement beneath your feet, because this rise is not just elevation, it is vindication. Not because you needed to be proven right, but because heaven needed to prove itself faithful. There were people who counted you out, people who said you lost your edge, people who said your silence meant defeat, but they were wrong, because silence was never the end. It was the beginning of alignment. And now your name is being whispered in higher places. Rooms of opportunity. Rooms of divine strategy. Rooms where God's favor opens doors that man cannot close. Michael says, they thought you were declining, but you were being elevated in silence. And now the timing is no longer delayed. The season is no longer hidden. You are stepping into what you were always designed for. Not because of their applause, but despite their silence. Type, I rise by grace. If you know you are entering a chapter no one expected, especially not your enemies. They thought they had more time. They thought you were still recovering. They thought you were disqualified. But heaven says, I never removed my hand. I never paused your purpose. I was refining you in silence. They will wonder how. They will ask when. They will question why, but they won't be able to stop it. Your rise is not a reaction. It's a revelation. Heaven is revealing what it built in you during the nights you cried, the mornings you questioned, the hours you stayed silent while your name was mishandled. Heaven was not absent. Heaven was orchestrating. Now, the question is, will you rise with grace or rise with grief? Heaven calls you to ascend with humility. To let go of the pain and carry only the proof. Michael says, the rise is not just for you. It is for those who need to believe restoration is possible. This elevation has a purpose. It is not to boast. It is to build. It is not to shine alone. It is to light the path for those still trapped in silence. So rise, not for applause, but for assignment. Child, they saw your silence and called it weakness, but heaven saw your silence and called it strength under instruction. Because when others shouted to be seen, you were being taught the language of restraint. Not everyone can carry revelation. Not everyone is trusted with hidden glory, but you were. Michael says, you held your tongue when lies flew around you. You protected your peace when chaos begged for a reaction. You passed the test of stillness. And now, the silence that once hurt has become the soil of your rise. You are no longer emerging by survival. You are ascending by grace. Comment, my silence was sacred. If your spirit now recognizes heaven trains the quiet ones to walk with weight. Because when your words were not believed, heaven remembered every one of them. And now, the reward is not noise, it is confirmation. Not loud, not flashy, but precise, undeniable. Holy. Michael says, you will be vindicated without debate. You will be honored without campaigning. You will be lifted without striving. This is not happening because you made it happen. This is unfolding because you let go and let heaven write the script. Now, the script is turning its page, and you are no longer the background character. You are the appointed one. Child, the ones who questioned your stillness will be stunned by your speed. Not because you rushed, but because you waited. And heaven moves swiftly for the soul that waits without bitterness. Comment, I rise without revenge. If your heart chooses the way of restoration over retaliation, you will not need to correct their version of you. Heaven will do that with clarity. And not just for you, but for all those watching. Those who wonder if quiet obedience ever matters. Michael says, your rise is not for applause, it is for demonstration. That holiness still lifts. My beloved child, they told you the window was closing. They said the opportunity had passed. They warned you that your chance was over, and some part of you started to believe it. But listen now, Michael says, that window was never closed to you. It only closed to those who tried to block your entry. Heaven did not forget you. The sacred timing you thought slipped away was not delayed. It was preserved. There are doors that do not open by strength. There are windows that do not appear until your obedience aligns with eternity. And child, you are not late. You are not behind. You are arriving at the exact moment grace prepared for you. Type, I was never too late if your heart needs to break the lie of delay. You see, when God sets an appointment for your spirit, nothing and no one can cancel it. Not even you. You may have doubted. You may have hesitated. You may have feared you missed it. But heaven says, I have held this place open just for you. This window, this divine space, was never shaped by clocks or calendars. It was designed by covenant. The sacred window is not about perfect behavior. It is about persistent belief. And you believed, even when no one saw it, even when doubt knocked louder than hope, even when your strength was quiet, but your faith still breathed. Heaven watched. And heaven remembered. Comment, my window is still open. If your spirit dares to believe again, because the moment you thought was gone is not gone. It's been waiting for you, not in a hurry, not in punishment, but in perfect alignment. Michael says, I did not allow that window to close, because what's on the other side is yours by inheritance, not by merit. You will not need to climb for it. You will not need to fight for it. You will not need to manipulate your way. This is not about position. It is about possession. What has your name on it cannot be transferred. What was written for your life will not fit another. Even if they tried to reach through that window first, even if they mocked your waiting, even if they ran ahead, they will soon see that only your soul's key opens that gate. Heaven whispers, this was never a race. It was always a revelation. Your delay was not denial. Your silence was not disqualification. Your stillness was not surrender. It was strategy. It was divine restraint. It was spiritual maturity. And now you will step through the window, not with noise, but with knowing. Type, I walk through with peace. If your spirit is ready to enter the room grace, kept unlocked. You do not need to apologize for your pace. You do not need to explain your process. You do not need to compete with their timing. You only need to receive. And that reception begins now, because the window is not closing on you. It is closing behind you to keep you protected once you enter. Michael says, you thought the opening was shrinking, but I was stretching you to walk through it fully. This was never about smallness. It was about preparedness. And child, now you're ready. You're ready to see what your faith preserved. You're ready to walk in what your silence guarded. You're ready to touch what your tears watered. This is not the end. It is the entry. Comment, this is my entry point. If you believe your waiting was preparation for inheritance. Now, others will wonder how you made it. They will ask how the door opened for you. They will be stunned by the timing, but you will not be surprised, because deep down, you always knew, if it's for me, it will wait for me. And heaven says, I waited. Because I knew you'd return when you were whole enough to stay. The sacred window was never a moment on a clock. It was a moment in eternity that heaven guarded until you were ready. Now you are. Now, child, step forward. Child, you looked at the door and thought it was locked. But the truth is, heaven was holding it in place until your heart was no longer rushing, until your soul stopped trembling. Because the sacred cannot be entered in panic. It must be entered in peace. Michael says, I was never measuring your speed. I was watching your surrender. Heaven doesn't reward the fastest. Heaven responds to the most yielded. You yielded. And now, the gate you thought had closed forever is slowly opening in perfect silence. Not with horns. Not with fireworks, but with stillness. There's a reason no one else saw it. There's a reason others thought your moment passed. Because this opening wasn't for them. It was never theirs to enter. It your name, carved in light, hidden behind heaven's veil. Comment, my name is still on it. If you now remember, what belongs to you in the spirit cannot be stolen in the flesh. This moment is holy, not because it looks dramatic, but because it carries divine weight. Every tear, every no, every delay. Get led here. To this door, to this quiet permission to step forward. Michael says, you're not just walking into a blessing, you're walking into a room that only responds to the frequency of your soul. Do not try to imitate others. Do not try to look the part. You are not here to impress. You are here because you remained faithful when nothing made sense. Child, you will not need to knock twice. You will not need to plead. You will not need to ask for permission from man. Heaven has already approved your entrance. Comment, I walk in with reverence. If your spirit knows how you are not just visiting this place, you belong here, not by title. Not by fame, but by covenant. This is where heaven remembers the quiet ones, the patient ones, the ones who wept but still waited, the ones who were not seen but were known. Michael says, this sacred window was not delayed. It was always time to match your healing. And now that healing has matured, now your feet can walk what your spirit has already entered. The room is not new, but you are. This is not a restart. It's a reveal. You will not become someone else. You will become the version heaven saw from the beginning.